Hey, what's going on everybody? Commander Crane here, and we are back with another Pioneer deck tech, and today we're going to be talking about Rakdos Harmless offering. I'm very excited to bring this list to you. As always, at the end of the video, let me know in the comments section, what do you think about this deck? Is there a card that I definitely should have included that I did not? Or do you have suggestions for upcoming videos? Just let me know in the comment section. And before we hop into here, huge shout out to Gary, one of the subscribers here on the channel, for recommending this deck. And the last thing I want to mention before we also hop into it here is, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was Saffron Olive actually built a list somewhat close to this one a couple of years ago when Pioneer first came out. It was either Pioneer or it was Modern, right before Pioneer. I can't remember, but there's been a lot of cards that have came out recently that are pretty good upgrades for this deck, especially one card that obviously is the thumbnail here from the big score from Outlaws of Thunder Junction. But let's just go ahead and hop into here. Okay, so this is the core of the deck right here. Okay, so we're trying to play Harmless Offering, and we're trying to give our opponent some specific permanents. So what permanents are we trying to give them? We're trying to give them Demonic Pact and Greed's Gambits. They're really, really good black enchantments, but they're only situationally good. Okay, so Demonic Pact, 4 mana. As being your upkeep, choose one that hasn't been chosen. Deals 4 to any target and you gain 4 life. Target opponent discards 2 cards, draw 2 cards, which are all really, really good modes, and then you lose the game. So essentially you get 3 turns to be able to take advantage of the Demonic Pact, and then you die. You die from your own Demonic Pact. And then there's Greed's Gambit, which says when it enters, you draw 3, gain 6, and make 3 2/1s. But at the beginning of your end step, you discard a card, lose 2 life, and sacrifice a creature. And when it leaves the battlefield, you discard 3 cards, lose 6 life, and sacrifice 3 creatures. So it's, when it enters, obviously that's a really, really good, that's awesome. But then as time goes on, there's a little bit of disadvantage that comes with that. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to Harmless Offering these permanents to our opponent. So then that way we get all the upside and they get all the downside. That's what we're trying to do here. And I know it seems a little funky, oh, why are you not playing 4 Harmless Offerings? We want to be able to maximize that, or 4 Greed's Gambit. And there's a card that recently came out that is, I think, personally the best card in the deck. And that is Beseech the Mirror. I think this is the perfect card for this deck. So it has Bargain. You may sacrifice an artifact, enchantment, or token as you cast the spell. Search your library for a card, exile it face down, then shuffle. If the spell was bargained, you may cast the exiled card without paying its mana cost if that spell's mana value is 4 or less. So obviously, our main combo pieces, the Harmless Offering and the Demonic Pact and the Greed's Gambit, they're all less than 4 mana. So essentially, it just helps us. It's just search for the combo piece you need and cast it, which is fantastic for this deck. I think it's the best card in the deck, other than obviously the Demonic Pact and such. But obviously, we're going to need ways to bargain this. So we're playing Blood Tithe Harvester and Bone Crusher Giant. Blood Tithe Harvester is just really, really good card in general. Bone Crusher Giant, good removal spell, but also a nice body that we can sacrifice with Beseech the Mirror. So, we're coming full circle here for the most part. So, next slide here, what else are we playing in this deck? So obviously we got the core here. We're trying to, give our opponent a Demonic Pact or a Greed's Gambit. So what else are we doing? So we're also playing 4 Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Obviously really, really good in terms of, having a bargain option for Beseech the Mirror. But obviously Fable of the Mirror Breaker is an incredible card in this format. I'm sure pretty much everybody here knows how good Fable of the Mirror Breaker is in this deck. Then we're also playing 4 copies of Thoughtseize, just because, guess what? We're a Rakdos deck. Of course we're going to play Thoughtseize. I also featured the brand new Outlaws of Thunder Junction art. I think that's just, I kind of like this art. A lot of the, what's the wanted poster ones or whatever. I'm not a huge fan of those, but I do think this looks pretty sweet. Actually, no, this one's not the wanted poster one. This one's the other one. But anyways, I'm rambling at this point. So the last side we have to talk about is a few removal spells that we're playing, because obviously we need to be able to do our thing, and to be able to do our thing, sometimes we're going to have to take down some early creatures. We're playing 4 copies of Fatal Push and 2 copies of Shieldred's Edict, just because these are really fantastic removal spells in the format. So that's our entire main board. Let's go ahead and talk about the lands real quick, which is a pretty standard Rakdos mana base. We're playing 4 Blackleaf Cliffs, 4 Blood Crypts, and 2 Sulphura Springs. We're also playing 2 Haunted Ridge, 4 Blightstep Pathway, and 2 Castle Lochtwain. And then rounding out our lands, we're playing 1 Takenuma, 1 Urborg, and 2 Hive of the Eye Tyrant. And I lied. We're playing more lands than this. We're playing 2 more Swamps and 1 Mountain. And as our spicy basic land of the day, I decided to feature the Rakdos Guild Kit lands. Just because it's pretty much special artwork they've never featured it anywhere else, and then you got like the special, you know, the background there, you got like the Rakdos symbol. I just think it's really, really cool. The one thing I forgot to mention with this mana base is pretty much every land in this deck, except for the mountain, makes black mana, just because with Beseech the Mirror, it is triple black, so, you know, having a bunch of, like, Sokenzans and, like, hives, or not hives, Den of the Bugbears, we potentially wouldn't be able to actually cast our Beseech the Mirror, so I made sure that pretty much every land we're playing is black, so that way we can actually cast everything. So, let's go and talk about the sideboard as well as some budget options for this deck. So sideboarding is really, really simple. We're going to want some graveyard hate. Obviously, there's a whole plethora of cards we could play. We could play the black Leyline, for instance, Leyline of the Void. You could also just play Soul Guide Lantern or Tormod Script. It's really up to you for the most part. In this deck, I probably would recommend Leyline of the Void. You're also going to want some extra removal. It really just depends on what the metagame looks like, which I would say that also ties into Vampire Hate. You could play a card like, for instance, like Tears of Valakut or Blot Out. I think those are both fantastic options. I really like a couple of Torch the Towers as well in the sideboard, just because it's good at picking off early creatures as well as, you know, taking out, oh, what's the name of it? Quintorius Con. There we go. So in the combo deck, you know, they go to Discover, and then boom, you take out the Quintorius Con. And then the last one I mentioned is Slaughter Games. I'm only playing one copy, but just with Beseech the Mirror, we can play a bunch of one of, you know, tutor targets for the most part. So we could play like one E2 Extinction, for instance, or not E2 Extinction, Extinction Event. There we go. You know, there's a whole bunch of different cards we could play just because we are playing a tutor target. So do keep that in mind, you know, don't be afraid to put in like one board wipe, one Slaughter Games, one such and such or whatever. So anyways, that's our sideboard. Let's go and hop into the budget options, which I'm going to be honest with you, this deck is still relatively pricey for a budget deck. And the reason I say that, so obviously, we can play a whole bunch of budget dual lands. That's really not the issue. We can also trim Thoughtseize, put in some Duress if you want to. That's not a problem. The only potential issue is Beseech the Mirror. So Beseech the Mirror, like I said, is probably the best card in the deck. It helps, it just makes the whole deck function. And, you know, and they do go for about $19-20 US a piece. And obviously, you know, that's relatively pricey, but I just think they're so important. I just don't think you can cut those. Like, obviously, we could just play a different, you know, we could play like a Grim Tutor or something like that. But the reason Beseech the Mirror is so good is because it's just 4 mana and casted. That's why it's so good. So that's why I really wouldn't recommend cutting the Beseech the Mirror. Sure, maybe you can get away with playing 3 copies of it, but the card is too good to cut. But the one thing that's cool is the budget list is only $120 US if you want to build that entire list, and that's obviously with like the budget dual lands, but you still have the Demonic Pact, the Harmless offering, all the other good creatures, and such like that, which honestly is pretty cheap for a fun F&M level deck. You know, if you're looking just to play a fun Rakdos, even a Rakdos mid-range shell, but also kind of have like a cool combo with Demonic Pact, I think this would be the perfect deck for you. Let me know in the comment section below if you do end up building a deck like this, or you've played a deck like this in a format. Just let me know how it played in the comment section. So, speaking of comment sections, that takes us to the end of the video here. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know in the comment section below, what do you think about the deck? Is there a card that I definitely should have included that I did not? Just let me know below. And huge shout out to our channel members, Ralph, Matt, Arcadius, Ray, Gary, and Sir Wanuki. If you are interested in being a channel member, it's only $1 US a month. And you get access to the exclusive Discord as well as other features here on the channel. And the deck lists are in the description below, including the regular list and the budget list. So if you're interested in playing a budget version, the deck list is in the description. So I'm Commander Crane. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.